Growing up, things weren't easy, but we had something real. It was just me, my dad Robert, and my sister Megan. Mom was gone before I even knew how to grieve right. She overdosed when I was 18, and everything broke after that. Dad stopped laughing. Megan stopped talking about the future. And I stopped believing families always stick together. We promised each other one thing that night at the hospital. No drugs, no drinking, no excuses. That was the line we would never cross again. For years it worked. Dad ran his small construction business and came home tired but steady. Megan got into nursing school and acted like the responsible one. And me, I fixed old computers and tried to save for college. We weren't happy, but we were surviving. Then Vanessa appeared. She came out of nowhere, like a bright ad in a dull newspaper. Dad met her at a charity mixer, said she was helping with donations. The first time she came over, she brought cupcakes too perfect to eat. Her smile was wide, practiced, and a little too polished. I wanted to like her, I really did. But something in her eyes felt calculating, like she was measuring the room. She was 36, 10 years younger than Dad, and she made sure everyone knew it. She complimented people the way a salesman compliments a buyer. It started on a Friday night, after a long week at work. My friends and I went to a small bar near the mall for food and drinks. I wasn't planning to stay long, just wanted to relax for a bit. I ordered a dirty martini, my usual, clean and simple. One drink, no more, because I never wanted to end up like Mom. We sat in a booth near the middle, laughing, talking about random stuff. Then, out of nowhere, I saw her. Vanessa. She was sitting in the back corner, half hidden behind a plant. And she wasn't alone. Some guy in a dark suit sat beside her, hand resting on her arm. They were close. Too close for small talk. He leaned in, whispered something, and she laughed like she'd heard the funniest thing ever. My stomach dropped. For a second, I thought maybe I was seeing it wrong. Maybe it wasn't her. But then she brushed her hair back the same way she always did. That fake perfect move she used whenever she wanted attention. It was her. No mistake. I stared for a moment, debating what to do. If I told Dad, he'd ask for proof. If I confronted her, she'd twist it somehow. Still, I couldn't just ignore it. So I stood up, walked over, and said casually, "Hey, Vanessa, didn't expect to see you here." She froze. Her face drained of color like she'd seen a ghost. The guy looked up once, then went back to his phone. She stammered, "Ethan, this is my cousin, we were catching up." I smiled, but it wasn't a nice smile. Catching up, pretty cozy for family, huh? Her mouth twitched, eyes darting around like she was trapped. I didn't want to make a scene, so I just nodded. "Well, enjoy your night," I said and walked away. When I sat back down, my friends asked what that was about. I just shrugged. Inside, though, I was shaking. Her face said everything. That wasn't guilt. That was panic. The kind of panic that comes when you realize you've been caught. I couldn't sleep that night. I kept seeing her face, hearing her laugh. I wanted to believe I was wrong, but deep down I knew. She was cheating. And Dad deserved to know. I told myself I'd wait until morning, tell him calmly. But morning came with chaos. My phone was blowing up with calls from Dad and Megan. Dad's text said, "Come home, we need to talk." My heart pounded the whole drive there. When I walked into the living room, it felt heavy. Vanessa sat on the couch with tissues in her hand. Megan stood beside her, arms crossed, eyes cold. Dad didn't even look at me. He just said, "Sit down." That's when I knew she'd already told her version first. I didn't even get the chance to speak before the trap closed. Vanessa smiled faintly through fake tears. And my father believed her. That night, everything changed forever. Dad's voice was calm, too calm, like he was trying to sound in control. He said, Vanessa told us what happened last night. My stomach sank. I already knew what was coming. She saw you at the bar, he continued. She said you didn't look well. I frowned. What does that mean? Megan cut in fast, like she had been waiting. She said your eyes were glazed. You were sweating, acting erratic. I stared at them both, disbelief spreading through me. I had one drink, I said slowly. One, she was on a date with another guy. Vanessa gasped, clutching her tissue tighter. That's not true. He's my cousin. Ethan's just paranoid. I laughed, short and bitter. Paranoid? I saw you touching his arm. Dad's voice rose. Enough, Ethan, this isn't a joke. Megan crossed her arms tighter. You've been acting weird lately, she said coldly. Weird, that's what they called me now. After everything, after what happened to Mom, they thought I was using. Do you really think I'd touch that stuff after what it did to her? I asked. Vanessa sniffled. I just panicked. I didn't want to say anything. I care about him. She turned the tears on perfectly, like flipping a switch. Dad put a hand on her shoulder. My jaw clenched so hard it hurt. I looked at Megan. You really believe this? She looked away. No answer. That silence told me everything. They had already chosen her. Dad said, if you're using, you need help. We'll support you if you admit it. I'm not using anything, I said quietly. You're being manipulated. Vanessa whispered, maybe he needs space. Dad nodded. I think it's best if you leave for now. I stared at him, waiting for a sign that he didn't mean it. None came. You're kicking me out. He didn't even blink. Yeah, I am. I waited for Megan to speak up. She didn't. Vanessa hid her face behind the tissue, like a perfect victim. My chest felt hollow. Fine, I said. You want space, you'll get it. I grabbed my jacket and walked out. No one stopped me. No one called after me. The house that used to smell like coffee and Sunday mornings felt foreign now. On the drive home, I couldn't think straight. I kept replaying her expression at the bar. That wasn't guilt. That was calculation. By the time I reached my apartment, I was shaking. I locked the door, sat on the floor and stared at my phone. No messages. No missed calls. Nothing. They erased me like I was a stain they couldn't wash off. Later that week, my rent transfer failed. Dad had stopped paying his part. Then the pharmacy declined my insurance card. He had taken me off his plan too. I laughed, but it wasn't funny. I wasn't just kicked out. I was cut off completely. The son of an addict, now branded as one. And all because I told the truth. The first week after getting kicked out felt unreal. I kept expecting a text, a call, anything. But silence became the answer to everything. Dad didn't reach out. Megan didn't even check if I was alive. I went to work, came home, ate noodles, and stared at the ceiling. It felt like living in a ghost version of my old life. Bills started piling up fast. Dad had stopped covering part of my rent without a word. My savings disappeared one payment at a time. Then my insurance got canceled. That was when it hit me. They hadn't just kicked me out. They erased me. Like I never existed. I wanted to be angry, but I was too numb. I just worked more. Picked up extra hours at the tech repair shop. Started doing night shifts at a warehouse nearby. My back hurt every day, but at least I stayed busy. At least I didn't have time to think about them. I learned to stretch groceries, to cook cheap meals that lasted. Ramen, eggs, rice. That was dinner for months. Still, there was a strange peace in the routine. No fake smiles, no tension, no walking on eggshells. Just me, my tools, and quiet. Sometimes quiet is better than family. One night at the warehouse, a coworker named Jard asked if I was okay. He said I looked tired but focused. That meant something. Someone noticed, even if my own blood didn't. The weeks blurred together after that. I stopped checking social media, stopped wondering what they were doing. Until one night I slipped. I looked at Megan's page. She posted birthday photos. Dad was there, Vanessa too, smiling like nothing ever happened. It felt like a punch to the chest. I sat in the dark for hours after that. Then I deleted every picture, every chat, every trace of them from my phone. If they could live without me, I could learn to live without them. That's when things started to shift. Work picked up. My manager noticed I stayed late, never complained. He hinted at a promotion if I kept it up. I stopped working at the warehouse and focused on repairs full-time. The extra money helped. So did the quiet. That's when I met Luna. She worked at the front desk of the building across from the shop. Always had random facts ready, always smiling for real. She asked one day, "You eat alone every night?" I said, "Most nights." She brought sandwiches after that. We started talking during lunch breaks. She told me about her family, about how they pushed her away too. She said, "Sometimes blood only means you bleed easier when they hurt you." I didn't reply, but I understood. She didn't fix me. She didn't try to. She just stayed. And for the first time in months, I felt human again. Maybe losing my family wasn't the end. Maybe it was the start of something real. 6 months passed before I heard from any of them again. By then, my life had started to make sense. I had a routine, a small apartment, and a reason to wake up. Luna and I were close, almost like something real was forming. Then one night, my phone buzzed with an unknown number. I ignored it the first time. It rang again. Then a text came through. It was Megan. She wrote, "Can we talk? It's about Dad." I stared at the screen for a long time. My first thought was that someone had died. Part of me didn't care. Part of me still hoped it was something simple. I texted back, "What for?" She replied, "Things got bad, I just thought you should know." I didn't answer. Hours later I sent, "Be specific." 10 minutes of silence passed. Then she wrote, "Vanessa took everything." I laughed out loud, alone in the kitchen. Of course she did. Megan continued. She convinced Dad to put the house in her name. Then she emptied the accounts. She's gone. I kept reading, not feeling much of anything. It was like watching a slow train wreck I'd predicted months ago. I texted back, "Shocker." She sent another message fast, like she was waiting for me. She said it was for tax protection. He believed her. She took the business money too. I leaned back in my chair, staring at the ceiling. It wasn't surprise. It wasn't anger. It was confirmation. I'd been right all along. Megan sent one more text. "I believe you now. About the bar, about everything." I stared at those words for a long time. They meant nothing now. Belief didn't fix betrayal. I wrote, "Why are you telling me this?" She answered, "Because Dad needs help. He's losing everything." There it was. The real reason. They didn't want truth. They wanted rescue. She added, "You're good with numbers. Maybe you could help with the business." I didn't reply. The phone buzzed again hours later. This time it was Dad. The name on the screen froze me. I let it ring. He called again, then left a voicemail. "Look, I know things got off track," he said. Off track. That's what he called disowning his son. "You were right about Vanessa," he continued. "I should have listened. But I need your help." His voice cracked on that last line. He said the business accounts were frozen, taxes overdue, house gone. I didn't call back. I played the voicemail twice, then deleted it. Luna saw my face and didn't ask questions. She just said, "They'll ask until you give in. Don't." Her calmness hit harder than anger. Because she was right. They weren't calling because they missed me. They were calling because they had nothing left. And I wasn't going back to save people who let me drown. A few weeks after the calls stopped, I got a text from my cousin Jason. We hadn't spoken in nearly a year. He wrote, "Bro, have you seen the news about Vanessa?" I replied, "No, why?" He sent a screenshot of a headline. Local real estate agent charged in multi-state fraud scheme. Her picture was right there. Sunglasses, scarf, pretending to hide from cameras. I stared at the screen and felt nothing. No shock, no joy, just quiet confirmation. Jason texted again. She scammed a bunch of guys, real bad. I read the article twice. Vanessa had been running fake consulting companies. She targeted older men with stable businesses. She used charm and business jargon to sound legit. Words like equity optimization and low-risk investments. It was all fake. She funneled money through ghost accounts, then disappeared. Dad's name was listed among the victims. Everything I'd suspected from day one was there in black and white. I sat at my desk for a long time, not knowing what to feel. Then I laughed quietly. Not because it was funny, but because it was over. The storm had finally eaten itself. A few days later, Jason messaged again. "Your dad's name is in the filings. Looks bad." Vanessa had convinced him to co-sign property that didn't exist. She forged documents, pulled money from his business, even took a loan in his name. By the time anyone noticed, it was gone. Dad's company was collapsing under the weight of her lies. Then I got a message from a man named Greg. He said he was Vanessa's ex-husband. Apparently, someone had mentioned me in a Facebook group for her victims. Greg told me she'd done the same thing to him. Cheated, drained his accounts, disappeared with the dog. No apology, no warning, just a note that said, "You'll bounce back." He said there were dozens of us. People she used, lied to, and left behind. A whole trail of broken lives. My family had just been one more stop on her map. I didn't message Megan. Didn't reply to Dad's last voicemail. I just watched the fallout from a distance. The cousins who once ignored me started sending awkward texts. "Hey man, we always thought she was sketchy." Sure they did. The same people who called me unstable now pretended they knew. One aunt even said she was praying for the family's healing. I didn't need prayers. I needed space, and I already had it. That night, I showed Luna the article. She read it quietly and handed me a slice of pizza. "So you were right," she said, "and they still treated you like trash." I nodded. "They want help now?" she asked. I nodded again. She smiled softly. "Then let them fix their own mess." We ate in silence after that, calm, unbothered. No revenge, no phone calls, no satisfaction. Just peace. I moved on. I found a new apartment, small but mine. I worked, saved money, fixed things, built something real. Sometimes people choose lies because truth hurts too much. And sometimes, losing everything is the only way to find yourself again. I don't hear from them anymore. No calls, no messages, no unexpected knocks at my door. The house they lost is gone for good, and so is the version of me they erased. Luna and I still live together, still laugh about small things. She makes strange vegan pasta, and I burn toast almost every time. We argue about movies, fall asleep on the couch, and dream quietly. Sometimes I think about my dad, about how he looked that day. Part of me feels sorry for him, but not enough to go back. You can forgive people without letting them in again. The truth is simple now. They chose a liar because she told them what they wanted to hear. I told them the truth, and it cost me everything. But losing them didn't destroy me. It rebuilt me. I learned that family isn't always blood. Sometimes it's the people who stay when you're broken. And sometimes peace isn't forgiveness. It's silence. I'm not angry anymore. I just finally understand. They made their choice. I made mine. And this time, I'm not looking back.